All right, everybody. Hello and welcome. It's time for the Lunchtime Discovery Series. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the program. My name is Chris Smith. I work at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences. I am your host. All right, everybody. Hello and welcome. It's time for the Lunchtime Discovery Series. Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Welcome to the program. Smith. I work at the Natural
Excited
Sciences.
about today's presentation.
Of course, you all know February is and I'm excited that our guest today, of course, is an incredible storyteller, somebody, if you go out and experience a little bit of the world, I think you come back with some really cool stories. I have yet to do that myself. I live my life here in the basement of the museum. An incredible storyteller. But Derick Lugo is an author and adventurer who you might recall has been on this program before because Derick joined us a few years ago after his first book came out, Unlikely Thru-Hiker, and he shared with us the stories and experiences of his as an author and adventurer time on the Appalachian Trail. He's been on this program before because Derick joined us a few years ago after his first book came out, Unlikely Thru-Hiker. Is it okay? Sorry, I'm hearing that we have a problem. Chat, I'm hearing we're having problems. A few years ago, let me know. I'm afraid we've got a technical thing going on right now, and I'm not sure where it's at. Don't worry, everybody. We'll work. I don't know if it's just me or is it everybody else. We're going to work it out. All right. Let's see. Sounds good now. Okay. Perfect. Sorry about that, everybody. Ready? Here we go. Take two. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Lunchtime Discovery Series. My name is Chris. This is our show. It's hosted by us here at the North Carolina Museum of Natural Sciences and organized by the very good folks in the Office of Environmental Education within the Department of Environmental Quality. They do the good work of finding incredible people to be a part of this program to share with us their knowledge, experiences, and insights in science, nature, and the world around us. I was saying before, February is, of course, Black History Month, and we're very excited to celebrate with an entire month's worth of incredible people. Look at this. They've got some amazing folks set up for this, including today's guest speaker, who's going to share with us some amazing stories. If you've been paying attention to this program for a while now, then you might remember a few years ago we had Derick Lugo on the show. Derick is an author and adventurer who back in 2022, he reminded me, we hosted him on the program because he had just come off the Appalachian Trail and published a book, The Unlikely Thru-Hiker. Well, folks, just this week, Derick has published his second book, A Fabulous Thru-Hike. Derick joins me now. Hi, Derick.
Hey, Chris, you are a pro, man. You did not flinch. You just kept going. I love it.
I do not know what went wrong. I guarantee it was my fault though, so apologies. Now that I've burned the first 5 minutes of our show, how have you been? It's great to have you back here on the program.
I feel great. Thank you for having me. I feel amazing, and I'm excited to share this new presentation with you guys.
I'm very excited for the new book and excited to get a sneak peek at it.
Thank you.
I'll let you take it away.
All right. Well, thank you guys for joining me. I'm glad that that echo is gone because I don't know if I could have made it through, but I'm going to set this up real quick. And we'll start with my brand new presentation. This is the first time I am sharing this. And I'm excited. So my book just came out. A Fabulous Thru-Hike came out yesterday, and it's about my thru-hike of the Continental Divide Trail. Now, a thru-hike is a hike that someone can do, a long distance hike within hiking an entire trail within a hiking season or a calendar year. And the Continental Divide Trail goes from the border of Mexico, New Mexico, all the way up to the border of Montana, Canada. It's 5 states: New Mexico, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, and Montana, 3,100 miles. And this through hike was 10 years after my Appalachian Trail through hike. A lot has changed since then, and I was a little weary about doing it, but I started sharing with people about that I was going to do the Continental Divide Trail, and everyone kept saying, "You know what? You've done it before. You got this." And it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to hear because when I first shared my through hike, my AT through hike experience, people were doubting me. They were like, my friend Nina, who's in my second book, and she's in the first, she was saying how I was the most metrosexual black man in New York City, and me in the woods without my designer clothes and makeup, which I don't use makeup and stuff like that, I would never survive. And I said, you know what? And now everyone's saying that I can, I got this. And I needed people to doubt me so I can prove them wrong. So I said, you know what? Let me reach out to my friend Nina and she'll set me straight. She'll put me in my place and then I can start my through hike. So I'm going to read a little part of a Fabulous Thru-Hike and her reaction of me sharing that I want to start this new Continental Divide Trail through hike. And this was her react. That's Nina, by the way. Yeah, I heard you're going to live under a rock again, is Nina's response to my announcement that I'm considering embarking on a new through hiking journey. Okay, this is going in the right direction. She's going to tell me I'm nuttier than a squirrel's lunchbox and that I'll never make it. Crazy, right? I egg her on. I get ready to say, ouch, that hurt, after she puts me down for being too metropolitan. You got this, D, she says instead. No, not you too. Isn't it much easier now with apps and GPS thingies? She asks. Yeah, there's the Gut Hook app. Well, it's now called Far Out. But I don't know. It's been 10 years since my last long distance hike. Things have changed. This is a different trail. I don't know much about it yet. I mean, it starts in the desert for crying out loud. I never hiked in the desert. I gave her one excuse after another. There's storms and fires and grizzlies and what does the CDT stand for? She interrupts. Um, the Continental Divide Trail. Oh, okay. Because I thought it was short for crying Derick tears. Go wipe your snotty nose, she quips. I touch the tip of my nose. She's mean. Did that hurt your little feelings? She continues to tease. No, it did. Look, dude, for years you've been telling everyone how much you love the outdoors, how the AT changed your life. Man, you changed my mind about hiking. Got me to buy my first pair of hiking shoes, and off we went. Brother, you went from city slicking to tent pitching in the rain with nothing but a bandana, a shower curtain, and a bindle, Nina says animatedly. She's exaggerating, but I get it. But now she's on a roll and there's nothing I can do to slow her down. So that was Nina's reaction about me starting my through hike. She puts me in my place. I go, you know what? I'm just gonna start hiking this through hike. It's 10 years later, and I get to the border of New Mexico and Mexico. And one of the things that I'm wary about, and this is the monument where you start a Continental Divide Trail through hike. And the one thing that I was worried about was water. I wanted to make sure since I started in the desert, the first 100 miles is in the desert, and we're relying on water caches. And I wanted to make sure that I didn't get dehydrated because I had gotten dehydrated on the AT and in a bunch of other trails. And once you get heat sickness, a friend of mine told me that you're prone to getting sick when you're out there. So I wanted to make sure that I was prepared for this desert hike. So I downed, it took me a few hours, it took a few hours to get to the border. So I downed about 5 liters of water before I got to the border. And I said, you know what? I'm set. I think I'm ready to go. So I start my through hike, and one of the things, the difference between the Appalachian Trail and the Continental Divide Trail is that you don't have many markers. You do have these signs along the way, but as you can tell, it's all desert. So I had to rely on a the GPS app called Far Out. And before I started the CDT, I read an article that said, be prepared to be lost for about an hour every day while you're out there. And I said, there's no way that can't be real. It has to be before the app. It has to be when people were just using a map and like a compass. There's no way I'm going to be lost. And sure enough, I would say within the first few minutes, I was already lost on the trail. Now, I started with two people, and I don't know if you see in the distance, there's someone ahead of me. Within a few minutes, she was like on the other side of the desert, and I couldn't figure out how I was off the trail, and I was. I look at the app, and on the app you'll have a marker, and I'll show you in a bit what it looks like. But it would show you where you're at, and I was always off the trail. And on this day, it was high 80s in the desert. It feels much hotter than that, but it was pretty windy. I don't know if you could tell with the my bandana right there. It's windy. The wind is blowing, and but I'm thinking I'm okay. I've been, um, I drank enough water, and I'm good. This is the end of that day. That day, I got heat sickness, and the chapter for this part of my story is called Unfabulousness. My trail name is Mr. Fabulous, and I was far from fabulous during this time. So I got sick, I vomited, it was windy. I had people help me with my tent. Right now, I'm in my tent. Someone captured this moment where I'm in my tent recuperating. And I quickly realized that it's not just about downing water. I needed electrolytes in my life. I needed magnesium. And what I brought with me that I couldn't use that day was a sunbrella, which I was able to use the next day. And under the sunbrella, it was a few degrees cooler. So I started adjusting my through hike. And I knew that I would have to do that quickly. If not, I was going to be doomed to the first few days on the trail. So the sunbrella helped. I also had, I don't know if you can tell, I had sun gloves because I heard that the sun will damage your hand, and I wanted to keep my hands looking pretty just in case I wanted to do some hand modeling. You never know. But the sunbrella helped a lot. And also, I started to adjust was when I was going to hike, and we decided that it would be better, especially that the sun was really not friendly to me. Decided that we were going to do some night hiking, and that totally changed everything for me. So moving forward, for the next 3 days, we started night hiking the desert, and it changed everything for me. It was the first time where I felt like I was through hiking. It was a different vibe. You don't see anything unlike the Appalachian Trail where you're surrounded by trees. You're not surrounded by trees. It's just open. And it feels so freeing and also not as scary as being in the woods in the dark. And I loved it. It ended up being one of my favorite sections of the Continental Divide Trail, which I didn't think I would ever say because I had never hiked in the desert. Now, the Continental Divide Trail, like I said, is different than the Appalachian Trail. On the Appalachian Trail, you have one trail. So if you want to be a purist, you can do it on the Appalachian Trail. But on the Continental Divide Trail, there's many different trails. This is the Far Out app, and a majority of through hikers that do the Continental Divide Trail aren't just doing the Continental Divide Trail. They're doing alternate sections of it because there's so many beautiful views and reasons why you would want to do that. And here, the red trail is actually the Continental Divide Trail. And then there's a brown trail here. That's a different trail. And this one, the pinkish one, is the Gila alternate section, which most hikers take. And the reason why you want to take that one is you're surrounded by water. There's a lot of river crossings. And then two, if you take the normal Continental Divide Trail section, it's a water carry and you don't have a lot of water sources. So most hikers, because it's beautiful and because you have more water, will take the Gila section. So I started the Gila section of the Continental Divide Trail, and like I said earlier, there's a lot of river crossings. And here I show how that was one of the first ones. It's pretty shallow, pretty safe, but I decided to use clogs. I did not want to, the first day I decided I don't want to get my shoes wet. So every crossing, I'm just going to put my clogs on. And then when I get to the other side, I'll put my shoes back on. The problem with that was that as soon as I got to the other side and I started hiking, I would hit another another crossing. And I was told that there was about 200 that I would do about 200 river crossings in this section, the Gila River Wilderness section. So I decided, you know what? Instead of putting my shoes back on, and I want to keep my shoes dry, that I'm just going to go ahead and just walk this section to the next one. The problem with that was that on that first day, I had 7 miles of hiking with clogs on, and I ended up doing 17 river crossings that day. And on my last river crossing, mind you, I was trying to keep my shoes dry. I ended up falling into mud that went up to my waist, lost my clogs, and still got my shoes wet because I still had to cross. So I decided, you know what, moving forward, I'm just going to cross the river with my shoes on. You can totally see that I have the shoes on. And from that, the next day, it made it a lot easier for me. I didn't have to, take my shoes off, put my clogs on. It was just a silly rookie mistake, whereas other hikers were passing me by, and I was like, no, I'm keeping my shoes dry. No, I learned the hard way, which is something I normally do a lot. Learned the hard way. So on the trail, um, like the Appalachian Trail, you meet a lot of through hikers. And three of these hikers ended up being in their main characters in my book. And another one, it wasn't in a good part of my book, and I'm going to share a story about him in a bit. And the other one was a day hiker or a weekend hiker that hiked with us. But we ended up, when you hike through the Gila section, you see a lot of cliff dwellings, and you see all these different, like you can see like hiding behind. We would kind of look for like the little cliff dwellings where the indigenous people that lived in the land. You can see up further in this photo where there's dwellings where they would inhabit the area, and I thought it was so amazing just to see that. Now, on the Continental Divide Trail, you do a lot of road walking for many reasons. One, the trail, unlike other trails, isn't completely done. So you'll have road that will connect from the trail um, to the next trail. And also, there's a lot of there would be forests. The season that I did the Continental Divide Trail, which was in 22, was one of the highest seasons for forest fires. So you're actually you have to take alternate routes on the road to get around the forest fires. But again, with the sunbrella, it helped a lot. It made it easier for me. Here's a little section I wanted to share with you guys what it looked like. Some of it was road, some of it was gravel road, but still you get a beautiful view. And again, the first, all of New Mexico was pretty flat like this, and you can see miles and miles ahead. Once we got to the border of Colorado, that's when things changed for us. The temperature, the elevation, you hit the border and you're already at 10,000 feet. And you start averaging about 12,000 feet throughout the entire state of Colorado. You don't go below that. So that shifted for me. But the views were incredible. There is a section here, I think it's the next one. I'll share that in a little bit. One of the things on this through hike was that I knew I was going to write about it. Unlike the Appalachian Trail, where halfway through my through hike, people were like, you need to share your story. And I decided I was going to write a book about it. This one, I walked into this, I started this through hike knowing that I was going to write a book. So I would have notes, I would take video notes. Photos were also a big thing I used for my writing. So I was out there constantly enjoying the outdoors, but hikers would catch me at times taking photos of something and they're like, what did you just take a photo of? Which would probably not be anything big for them, but for me, it would jog my memory and help me share the story that I wanted to share with people. I also had, like I said, a journal that helped me with trying to keep some of the stories that I would remember for this book. Now, there was a thing that I learned on the Continental Divide Trail, something called a 14er, where you hit these high peaks that are 14,000 feet high. And I've never done anything like that. And this one was actually San Luis Peak. The problem, and I wanted to do, we didn't necessarily have to do this because this is like a short trail, like a mile and a half off the trail, and you hit the peak and you come back down. And the problem with that is that I get vertigo and sometimes these trails are narrow. And in order for me to make this hike, I need to be around people. Someone needs to be in front of me and someone needs to be behind me. But for me, it was worth it because then you get a view like this. And this is going to be a short video of what was around me when I hit the top of that first 14er. Look at that. You can see mountains from miles and miles away. There's other hikers up at the peak, just relaxing. It was about a mile and a half up. But again, and also this presentation could easily be like a vacation slideshow. I can just show you photos of these amazing views. I promise it won't be, but I wanted to add it for this presentation because I wanted you guys to see what I was seeing. These are views that I have never seen in my entire life. People come from all over the world to see these views, and it was something that I've never, ever seen. Now, I did encounter snow. Not a lot of snow. We had patches of snow, but just enough where um, we had to be careful. We didn't need micro spikes, didn't need ice axes or anything like that. But there was little patches where we did walk on snow, and it wasn't too bad. Well, it wasn't bad for me. It was bad for this hiker, which I couldn't stop laughing. He couldn't get up.
You gonna take your pack off?
He was like a turtle. Could not get up.
Okay,
He slid right down that.
I still got to get there.
Fun stuff until I fall. But we didn't have to go through, like I said, through a lot of snow. Now, I mentioned 14ers. I hit two of them on the Continental Divide Trail. And the thing about 14ers is that, we were doing a lot of 13ers. We were, again, up high elevation. And the difference between the Continental Divide Trail and the AT was that when I did the AT, I can get up whenever and start hiking. I learned really fast here on the Continental Divide Trail that if I start late, I'll get caught up on top of a peak, and storms come in. They roll in like clockwork every afternoon. So I learned the day before this peak, I was climbing up a 13er and I got caught in a storm because I started late. And I learned that I start early and be down by mid-afternoon. And what happened, this is the second day where I knew I had to hit this 14er today. I was already halfway, and a storm started rolling in, and I was racing up, and I made it up there, but I want to show you guys this video. So I'm up there in the top, and right behind me, storm coming. Look at this. Right on my back. I said, no one's going to believe me. Let me record this. And as soon as I finished recording it, I was running. I ran down that mountain. I ended up getting shin splints the next day, but I needed to be down before that storm rolled in. Um, and so this hiker, I mentioned that he was one of the hikers that I took a photo of. Um, one of the first days I met him, he hiked with us for about 3 weeks. And his name is Dr. Faust, and he is Mexican, but he has Native American blood. So he decided that he wanted to do some research on his bloodline, on his ancestry. And he found out that he was part Apache, which I thought was pretty cool. And we met a hiker or someone that was driving us from one town to another to resupply, and the driver was an Apache, so they started striking the conversation about their ancestry, about um, Faust, and wanting to learn more about his people. And I started thinking about my ancestry and what my mom told me about, and I want to read this section to you guys for you guys, and how my mom told me that I had some kind of Native American ancestry. So I also have Native American ancestors, or at least that's what my mother used to tell me. Is Prince my dad? I once asked her. Who? Don't play me, Mom. You know the musician. He sings When Doves Cry and Purple Rain. I began to sing Purple Rain. Derick, she cuts me off. I know who Prince is. Listen, my pretty green-eyed mother, why are your other two children light-skinned, but I am a caramel chocolatino tone? I waved my arm and bobbed my head, mimicking a Latina in a heated discussion. I had no doubt that I'm related to my brother. He's a much lighter version of me, as well as my freckled face sister, because I have freckles and our ugly cries are identical. Did Prince have freckles? I wonder. Look, your grandmother was part Indian. It's indigenous, not Indian, I told her. Like the Cuban singer Celia Cruz, my mom's English is not Betty good looking. I know what I'm saying. American Indian people or Native American, my mom countered. I'm not sure her Nuyorican accent would allow her to pronounce indigenous. You have your grandmother's complexion, she continued. Wait, what? Grandma is the white one in the family. Your dad's mom, not my mom. My dad's mom also looks white in the old photos I've seen. Yet they're faded, so I drop it. The mention of my father brought up what few memories I have of him. My parents separated when I was 5, so I don't remember what he sounds like. Could he have pronounced indigenous? Did he have a Norwegian accent like my mom? Did he have a deep speaking yet high singing voice? Was his favorite color purple? I think Prince was my dad, is what I'm saying. No, I don't. But that was me when I was younger thinking, why am I, different? And Latino Puerto Ricans come in different flavors. Um, so the thing about the Continental Divide Trail is that what I love the most was that you can see the trail from so far away. Like you can see right now the trail, maybe a mile of the trail ahead. And for me, that was the most amazing thing. And we're constantly mostly above tree line. Here's more photos that I couldn't resist sharing with you guys. This here reminds me of, it looks like a different world, like something out of like Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones, where it just looks like a castle needs to be in there somewhere. And another thing about um, the Continental Divide Trail that there is no centralized camping. So you're unlike the Appalachian Trail where you can hike from shelter to shelter every 15 to 20 miles. And then you can camp around the shelter or in the shelter. Here you camp wherever. And for the most part, I'm hiking again at 12,000 feet, the highest I've ever pitched a tent. And you're surrounded by just a beautiful view and not in the woods. So once we got, this is the border of Colorado and Wyoming, and there was a shift throughout all of the state of Colorado. It was cold and it was a little miserable, although the views were beautiful. Some say it was worth it. I say it was. But once we got to Wyoming, something shifted and the temperature and we were a bit lower. Um, and things started to shift for us. Same beautiful views. This is the Wind River Range. The views were so amazing that it looked like a fake background. You ever see those old movies where they're just, they're outdoors and it's obvious that the background is fake? This looks like just a facade, like it's not a real background, but it is. Um, this is the Wind River where we were just surrounded by beauty. Now, this is Yellowstone. I could easily, again, done a presentation of just Yellowstone. I'm only going to show this photo. And the reason why I show this one is because although it was beautiful, it was the coldest morning on the Continental Divide Trail because there was a lot of dew on the high grass and my toes were numb. And I said, I am so miserable right now, but I don't want to show it. So I had someone take a photo of me, and we took a bunch of photos of me in that area and how I wanted to remember that although it was miserable, that it was still a beautiful, beautiful section. Now, this wall was incredible. It's the Chinese wall. It stretches unbroken for roughly a dozen miles and averages 1,000 feet tall. And it's in the Bob Marshall Wilderness section in Montana. And I think I have a clip here I wanted to show you guys how far, like you don't even see the end of it. It just keeps going and going. We're just hiking along this beautiful wall for miles and miles. So these three are the main people in my second book. You have Nature, who's a 63-year-old woman, and then you have these two amazing Brits. One is called Pirate, and the other one is I kept calling him Dan, but he ended up being called his trail name was Buck Wild, which was the opposite of Buck Wild because he was like shy, timid, but was very funny. Um, but these hikers, I was hiking with them for a while, the two Brits, and then we would see them along the trail. And I think may have been one of the last times I saw them on the trail, but I wanted to show you guys what they look like because when you start reading the book, you can kind of picture them in the story. Now, in the first book, I have a chapter called Dear Mr. Moose. And the whole thing was that I wanted to see a moose for a long time on the AT and didn't end up seeing one. So I wrote a letter saying, why haven't I seen you yet? 10 years later, this ends up happening. I end up seeing a moose. And I have a second chapter, or I have a chapter in my second book called Dear Mr. Moose Part 2. And how I did want to see a moose, and I finally got to see a moose. But check this out. It took 10 years for me to see a moose, right? And then all of a sudden, I'm seeing moose everywhere. This is in a different spot. Days later, weeks later, I see another one. There's a quick video, and they're like right on the trail. And like, all I need to see is one moose, and now I'm seeing moose everywhere, which was amazing to me. And that's just the way the trail is. Now, This is, I wish I had the photo of the hiker that had her hand on it, and I'll be sure to do that next time I do this presentation. But this is bear print, and we hit grizzly country, which is something you don't have on the Appalachian Trail, are grizzlies. And we started seeing bear print. And when you're through hiking the Continental Divide Trail, you need one of these, is a bear spray. But one of the things they don't teach you is how to use a bear spray. I found this out. I saw a sign on the Continental Divide Trail that was showing you how to use the bear spray. Normally, you would think you pull that tab off and you just spray right at the bear. That's maybe a couple yards away from you, right? No, that's not how you do it. Because what will happen is you're spraying up, and the bear, when they run, they're running with their nose down, and they're going to go right under that spray. And then it's just you and the bear. What you're supposed to do is spray maybe a few feet ahead of you, maybe a yard ahead of you, down. So when if it does charge you, for the most part, bears don't do that. But let's just say that happens. But you need to know this. The bear will charge, but since it's charging down, that whole fog of like badness will hit them, and it will stop them. And the way that I had it, I thought this was a good thing to show you guys was where I had it, because where I kept it. Some through hikers will put it in their packs. And I was like, uh-uh. I don't think I'm gonna have enough time to take my backpack off and then look through it and try to find a spray. I said, no, I need it strapped to my chest and ready to go. And I would practice kind of like kind of pull it out of my holster just in case. So I had it there ready to go. Never had to use it, thank goodness. But it was there just ready. And another thing you needed to do, grizzly country, you need to hang your food bag. And this is the way you hang it. I want to show you guys kind of how this looks. So you want to hang it 12 feet off of the ground, 5 feet from the bark of the tree and the branch that you have it hung on, have it hung by. And then you don't tie it to the tree that you have to the same tree, because a bear can climb up and maybe accidentally just cut that off, or just rip it off, and then they're gonna just have a feast. You always tie it to a different tree, and that may look different, but as long as you have it off the ground, and they can't get to it, then you're fine, because the bear's not gonna figure out how to untie that. But a bear can accidentally, like I said, right here by the bark, accidentally cut it or just loosen the bag. And the bag that I had, we'll go back. I had a bear resistant bag. I guess it's been tested, and it will store the food in there. Even if the bear gets a hold of it, it won't be able to tear it open. So that's what I had to carry. Unlike the AT, where I just had a regular stuffed sack. And I did hang, but I didn't really have to worry about grizzly bears. Now I want to talk about being a vegan. Now, one of the things that I get is people are like, how can you be a vegan on a trail? When I did the Appalachian Trail, I was a vegetarian. And I took it another level and became a vegan. And I wanted to prove to people that being a vegan and through hiking is not hard to do. I'll share some of the stuff that I eat on the trail. Oats. I had oatmeal every morning with peanut butter, and I had protein powder. That was my breakfast. That's vegan. Ramen with some pieces of tofu, that's also vegan. Now, this is mac and cheese. You're like, wait a minute, mac and cheese is not vegan. This one is. This one had diet cheese. So nowadays, maybe not 10 years ago, but nowadays, even in small towns, you can find these things. Um, so I wanted to show you guys that also Oreos are vegan. And I was like, what? Oreos are vegan, people. Obviously, fruit. There are gummies that are vegan, as long as they don't have. I'm drawing a blank on. I was going to say gluten, gelatin. As long as they don't have gelatin, um, we're good to go. Dr. Pepper obviously is vegan. Peanut butter. So when I would go resupply, and we have here just trail mix, peanut butter, Oreos, chips. You're burning a lot of calories. It's hard for you to replace it. I had sunflower seeds, which was great for a little bit of protein. And also, it replaced the salt that I was losing when I was hiking, which helps me stay hydrated. So that was another lesson I learned being out there. And also, not just resupplying towns, but I would send myself resupplies. Um, and the good thing about that is I can send myself stuff that certain towns wouldn't have, certain things towns wouldn't have. So it would be a treat for me. So I had about maybe 10 of those along the trail, and it was 5 months out there. So that was kind of a treat for me. Pizza could be vegan when I was in town that doesn't have cheese. Also, when I was in Denver, they had vegan restaurant, and this is all tortillas vegan. So I didn't have a problem eating on the trail. This is Montana towards the end of my through hike. This is the Glacier National Park section, which was one of the most beautiful sections of the Continental Divide Trail. I feel like every state got better and better and better. And when I got to this section, it was the most amazing section of the trail. This is the border of the trail. That season, you could take two different routes. You could take the Waterton route you can go through Canada, and the trail goes a little bit further into Canada, and then you can take a different route called the Chief Mountain section, which I took because at the time the border was closed. It eventually opened, but I had already made plans to get to do that route. So there's different, again, unlike the AT, different routes to finish your through hike. Oh, that looks like that's the end of my presentation. Guys, if you want to follow me on any social media, I'll be book touring all year long. I'll be putting it on my social media, letting you guys know where I'm at. So please reach out to me there. If you would like a signed copy, you can go to snowfortbooks.com, get yourself a signed copy there. And yeah, that's my presentation. Chris, back to you.
Everybody, you can, wherever you happen to be viewing from, great big round of applause for Derick. Amazing stuff. Gosh, it's America the Beautiful out there, I guess.
Yes.
Just gorgeous, gorgeous countryside. I, I'm stunned at the photos that you shared, at just how beautiful those places really are.
Yeah, it's incredible. It's surreal. I look at it, even being there in person, I'm like, doesn't look real. It's just, we really have this here you don't have to leave this country. It's here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's amazing stuff. Well, we've got plenty of time, folks, for you to ask your questions. So jump into the chat there on YouTube, start typing them up, dropping them in. Some viewers already have submitted questions. I've got those pulled up here.
Yeah.
But I was thinking, Derick, because you've talked a little bit juxtaposing the Appalachian Trail and then 10 years later going and doing Continental Divide. What's
Mhm.
it been like over those 10 years storytelling about through hiking and being out in nature, and how people receive those stories and how people interact with them?
Yeah, it's a great question. When I finished the Appalachian Trail, I couldn't stop talking about it. And I was writing. It was the first time I knew that this story that I'm writing, I'm going to share it with people, and I wanted to get it published. So I spent so much time teaming up with organizations, brands, just to share the outdoors, the Appalachian Trail, which was the only trail I knew at the time. And I just never stopped. It took me 6 months to through hike the Appalachian Trail, but I spent years reliving it and being part of it. And people just love, I think, when someone sees how much you care about something and you have an enthusiasm for it, I almost couldn't say that word. Then they feel it too, and hopefully it will inspire them not just to go out and hike. This isn't necessarily about hiking. Yeah, I want people to be in the outdoors and we belong out there, but it's more importantly, it's about stepping out of your comfort zone, doing something out of the ordinary, and living a life and a dream maybe that you didn't know you had. Just doing something different, and that's what I want people to get out of my story and also get out there and get some exercise. So yeah, everyone's been like, you know, um, loving, or at least I think loving the stories that I'm sharing and getting out there as well.
I need to get some exercise too, but I don't know about getting 3,100 miles worth right off the bat. I need
It's not it's not about the miles, man. It's about the smiles.
There you go, everybody. I'm gonna have to call Nina and be like, Nina, talk me down.
I love it.
So, all right, let me throw you some questions that came up in the chat for you, because we've got a bunch of folks tuned in and they posted some good stuff. Um, One of our questions that came in, we've got a fellow AT through hiker, but the CDT has been intimidating to them because it's so much more remote and water can be hard to come by in that climate. How did it go for you?
It's not as hard as you think. The trail is hard, but as far as the water, you have 100 miles. The first 100 miles is in the desert, but you have water caches. And the good thing about the Continental Divide Trail, and you wouldn't think there would be, but there's a lot of trail angels. And these are people that know the trail and they know the sections where you need water caches. Same with the Pacific Crest Trail. The Continental Divide Trail had so many trail angels that made sure we had water along the way. I didn't have any issues. Even when I was digging water out of like where cows were getting, no, I would had enough. So that's not an issue. Yeah, it's a bit more, it's rough as far as road walking and the climbs, but again, once you're out there, you quickly get conditioned and you're just crushing those miles, maybe not fast, but you're doing those miles. I wouldn't be intimidated by it. Obviously, understand and that the trail is different than the AT, and it's not going to be. I mean, the AT has some really hard climbs as well. But once you start adjusting, understanding that the weather it will be a factor as far as not being on top of the peak in the afternoon and trying to finish before mid-September, late September, because you don't want to be in Montana during that time because once the snow comes in, it's full-blown winter and you don't want to be out there. So you adjust and you learn along the way. Yeah, I wasn't at first I was like, I don't know if I want to, after 10 years, make the Continental Divide Trail my next through hike. But trust me, if I can do it, you can totally do it.
Excellent advice. Let's see. Next up, how important is the camaraderie on the trail?
Very important. I didn't realize this until I did the Continental Divide Trail, oh, the Appalachian Trail, and then the Continental Divide Trail. You need people around you. It's just, if you want a solo hike, probably don't through hike because you're going to meet people along the way. I know I need it. I need to be around people. There was times where I was hiking alone, but it's just, I don't know, you hit a view and you want to share it with someone. And there's times where I want to be alone, obviously, but I can't imagine doing a through hike for 5 to 6 months and not seeing anyone. You need that. Mentally, you need that. Um, and I get stories out of it. Most of my writing, it's dialogue. It's the people I meet and the people I met on the trail. And it just makes it a lot more fun. So for me, it's really important.
And it seems like the story you shared of the individual who was uh, learning about their ancestry and pursuing the trail as kind of a way to experience that and engage with it too.
Hmm.
So yeah, having people around you where I guess you got a long day, you're just walking along and having conversations and getting to know people. Uh, maybe for somebody who's more introverted, you're like, oh, I don't know if I could do that. Or if you're shy or not somebody who might normally speak up. But at the same time, like you're used to just kind of like walking around and chatting people up, maybe, especially if you're walking alongside them all day long. And then it's like relationship building that just kind of springs out.
Yeah, Chris, you touched on something. We're hiking all day long. We're hiking from, let's just say, 6 in the morning to probably 6 in the evening or later every day for 5 to 6 months. And, just imagine doing that alone and it doesn't change. I don't know if anyone can finish a trail like that. You're like, I can't do it. I got to get off, even if you're an introvert. can't tell you how many people I've met out there that said they were introverts, and once they get, we get to know each other, I can't tell, So I was hiking with Dan, one of the guys in one of my photos. He was socially awkward, but a very funny guy. And he said one of the reasons why he wanted to hike the Continental Divide Trail is when he wanted to build his confidence and get to know more people. You go on a trail to get to know pe more people, yeah, So yeah, it's a big part. It's a big part, important part.
Good stuff. All right. You said that you went into this one knowing you'd be writing another book. Do you feel like that changed the experience at all?
Mm-mm. Not at all. Not at all. I think it enhanced it because I was more aware of certain things, especially in the desert, taking photos of things that people weren't. It didn't change it at all. One of the things I was worried about was because the first book was a pretty good success, I was worried that I would go out there and people would recognize me or know that I wrote a book and then they would change the way they would interact with me. Wasn't a case. If people didn't know, I was just another through hiker. We talk about the book a little bit and then we just, even if they were like, oh man, you're Derick, you wrote this book. After hiking with me for a while, I'm just another through hiker. I love being out there. And there was a moment when I was taking a break. I was on top of a mountain. We were taking a break and it was four other hikers. And we chatted up there for a minute and I put my pack on. I said, hey, let's exchange Instagram info. And one of them was like, actually, I follow you already. And it was one of those things that I didn't know. And it wasn't like, they were fanboying or girling. I don't know if that's a term. But it was just, I was a regular through hiker. And I was like, thank you. It was like, we're just doing the same thing. There's nothing different about it. So no, it didn't change the way I approached my through. Well, it did change the way I approached it, but it didn't affect it in a negative way.
Yeah, right. One of your comrades falls down in the ice and you pull out the camera and the pen and you're like, here we go. Jot it down.
That's that
Going in the book.
that's true. Actually, that has happened. But I knew he wasn't because some people might be like, "Well, did you not try to help the guy or anything?" It's like, no, we were laughing. As soon as he fell, we were laughing. Okay, so I was like, and as soon as we were laughing, I started documenting it, and it was, it was hilarious. Now it's part of my presentation.
I thought that's such a great moment. Let's see. One of our viewers wants to know if you're going to be doing your third book about the Adirondacks 46er hikes.
Mm-hmm. So here I'm in the Adirondack Mountains, and there's something called being a 46er where you hit all 46 high peaks, and all the high peaks are about 4,000, not 14, 4,000 feet high.
Oh, okay.
Um, so I've done 12 already. It won't be my third book, but I will be eventually writing about that. I still have my PCT book that I would like to write. And also, I'm working on another big project that I can't really talk about, but hopefully by the summer I can share with you guys. But yeah, I will eventually write about being a 46er.
Okay. Be on the lookout, everybody. I got a feeling when it comes out, Derick Lugo will be on the Lunchtime Discovery series
Yes,
to
100%.
share it with us. Okay. Let's see. Oh, somebody's commenting about the Mountains to Sea Trail here in North Carolina. Goes east west, west east.
Yes,
State.
yes. I lived in Asheville, so I've hiked sections of it. I want to do it. It's about 1,100 miles, I think.
Mhm.
And it goes across North Carolina. Yes, 100% yes. So now that I've done the three big long distance trails, um, I can do the smaller ones. I mean, that's probably the longer of the smaller ones, 1,100 miles. But yes, I definitely I want to do that. I already did the long trail that's not far from here in Vermont, which is about almost 300 miles. But yes, the Mountain to Sea Trail is definitely a trail I want to do.
Excellent stuff. We'll cheer you on.
Yeah. And hopefully give me trail magic because I'm gonna need it on that trail.
Okay, how much or how many months of preparation goes into planning a through hike?
I don't I don't really prep that much, to be honest. I didn't for the first through hike. I don't recommend it because when I did the AT, within a week and a half of deciding I wanted to through hike, I was on the trail and I didn't even know if I liked hiking. And all the gear that I had never used before. Normally, when you through hike, you've done a little bit of hiking, whether it's been a few months or a few years, whatever, you've done it. I don't really prep that much. I would say I had decided I was going to do the Continental Divide Trail maybe a few months before, and I did prep more for the Continental Divide Trail because I had food drops. So I had mail some stuff. I had people mail stuff to certain towns. So I think being a vegan, I have to prep more as far as the food part of it. I had maybe 10 for the Continental Divide Trail, and then the Pacific Crest Trail that I did last year, I had about 13 or 14 mail drops. So in that sense, I do have to prep. But as far as conditioning, I always say if you have one hiker that starts through hiking and hasn't really trained for it, and then you have another one that has been training for weeks, if they start to trail the same time, within a few weeks, they're pretty much in the same shape because you're working those mountains or whatever you're on the same way. So I don't know. I don't want to overdo it because I also don't want to injure myself for whatever reason before I started through hike. And I just want to go in there just kind of raw and just do it because it makes for a better story.
There you go. And something I was thinking about too, like the tallest peaks on the Appalachian Trail are 6,000 feet.
6,000 is in Tennessee, if I'm not in the Smokies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you were consistently at 10 to 12,000 feet, at least through Colorado on this
Yes.
DDT. In
Yeah.
my mind, I'm just like, wait a minute, how do you go from your highest peaks being, around six, and then you just double that? Go from zero at a desert. Well, I guess it's not zero at the, but to be at 12,000 feet just regularly. That's
Yeah.
incredible.
That's mind blowing. And I think about it now and I was like, yeah, that's and I write about that in the book how that I didn't get altitude sickness, but I think it was because I was out there for a while and I gradually made it to 10 and then like it just we weren't pushing ourselves. If I was pushing myself, which I did on a PCT, and that's another book,
Mm.
but I didn't, I was able to get conditioned enough to be up there. And then that blew my mind while I was even out there, like just pitching my tent at 13,000 feet. I was like, I live in New York City where we're like at zero, like at one, I think, like, and to be that high is just, yeah, I'm like you, but it just to this day blows my mind.
It's just cool. This is cool and part of the show. All right. Well, it looks like that's about our time. Um, the next question that came in for you is what's next?
Mhm. I'm going to focus on book tour. I'm going to hit the road. I've been wanting to do this for a long time. I couldn't do it with my first book because it came out during COVID and I couldn't do the book tour. Now I'm doing it and I just got a brand new car. So I'm going to be living out of my car and we're driving all over the country, especially the East Coast, and hopefully I'll be in your town. And the tour, I'll keep adding dates to it. We talked about this earlier, Chris, before we went live. I'm going
Mhm.
to keep adding dates to it. So if you want to reach out to me and say, hey, there's a bookstore here or a library or an event happening, let me know and I'll try to add it to my book tour. And then after that, I'll start writing about the Pacific Crest Trail. So, and I'll do hikes along the way and hopefully finish my 46 here peaks here. So that's what's next for me.
Well, there's a number of through hikers that are in the chat, uh,
Oh,
leaving their appreciations for you. Uh,
love you guys.
we've got there's a fellow 46er in the chat who's wishing you good adventures and good luck.
Yes.
And of course, you've got Team Lunchtime Discovery series on your side too.
Yeah, I love you guys.
Derick, thanks for being with us today. Thanks for sharing your stories.
Thanks for having me, man. This was so much fun and hopefully we'll do it again.
So, everybody, the book is A Fabulous Thru-Hike. I think you can get more information about finding the book, getting a copy at Derick's website, which dericklugo.com. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And then, of course, you can follow Derick on social media, where you can see not only great photos, but great stories. And I'm guessing we'll be able to keep up with that book talk, that book tour as well.
Yes.
There you
Thank
go,
you.
everybody. Links to all of that stuff is over there in the chat. The folks in the Office of Environmental Education, Lisa and Marty, were dropping links to all of that as we went through the program. So take advantage of that there, everybody. We will be back here again next Wednesday with another presentation. Next week, we're hearing from Khadijah McNair, who runs Freedom Park, part of the North Carolina African American Heritage Commission here in downtown Raleigh. So don't miss out. Come and join us. Go ahead and mark your calendars. Sign up for the email listserv at eenorthcarolina.org. And you can also follow the Office of Environmental Education and the museum on social media as well. Thanks for being here, everybody. Thanks, Derick. It's good to see you again. Take care out there. We'll see you all again soon.
That was fun.